What is up? It is Geeks of the West here. Guns in America. It's a trending topic and a very controversial topic at that. What's the problem? It's alright. Well, people don't look at it like that. I'm gonna take some time out of my day to talk about this. It's around dinner time and I am too lazy to cook, so I'm about to go grab dinner. I'm starving. But I'm gonna get this out of the way first. The media is just shoehorning gun violence after gun violence on TV. It's like we're being rampaged with this sudden surge of gun violence. People have lost their minds. People are out of control. More than ever, people are using guns to commit crimes. If you watch the news, that's what it would seem like. Don't forget 2001 and 2002 was the year of nonstop shark attacks. It was on the news every other day, despite the fact that shark attacks were at an annual low. We keep getting more violence shoved down our throats. We keep getting rhetoric shoved down our throats, along with this nonstop gun violence. You wouldn't know that gun violence has declined since, well, the 90s. I know, it's shocking, right? Listen, my goal isn't to sell you statistics about guns. It's to talk about guns in America. Let me read something to you. This is the Second Amendment. A well regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms should not be infringed. Let us break it down. Let's define militia. A military force that is raised from the civil population to supplement a regular army in an emergency. A military force that engages in rebel or terrorist activities, typically in opposition to a regular army. All able-bodied civilians eligible by law for military service. Listen, militia is not a military. It isn't. It comes from civil population to supplement a regular army. Let's see what another source defines militia as. A militia generally is an army or other fighting unit that is composed of non-professional fighters, citizens of a nation, or subjects of a state or government who can be called upon to enter a combat situation, as opposed to a professional force of regular, full-time military personnel, or historically members of the fighting nobility class. Meaning the Oath Keepers are constitutionally correct and allowed. That's just the first part of the United States Constitution. How about the second part? That clearly states the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. There's also another historical document that can be used as support for the right of the people to bear arms, basically, and that is the Declaration of Independence, which was written July 4th, 1776. And it states, "We hold these truths to be self evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate the governments long established should not be changed for the light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shewn that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariability the same object, evinces to design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide a new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now necessity with constraints them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries so on and so forth. Um, I apologize for how terribly I read that, but that's proof enough. The Declaration of Independence was written stating that it is an unalienable right, that people have the right to alter or abolish their government if it becomes too destructive by means that they deem necessary. And what were they? This was written around the time of the Revolutionary War when the colonies were doing just that against Great Britain. And how were they doing that? They were doing it with firearms. Now, listen, I'm not saying that firearms is the right way to do it, because listen, I want peace, but I also understand the need that sometimes being passive is not an option. Although there are times where I agree that being passive is the option. But you can't sit there and you can't say that, we need peace. You can't just, you can't use troops. Well, sometimes you have to. Sometimes you have to use force. That is human nature. Every animal on this planet uses some form of violence or force to get what they need or want. And do I think we should work for peace? Yes. We should absolutely encourage peace before war. That should be the first option. War should be the very, very, very last option. But the thing is every situation is different, and war doesn't work in every situation, neither does negotiations alone. Peaceful negotiations. Each situation is different. So I'm not saying that we should go to war. What I am saying is we need, depending on the situation, we should look at it, analyze it, before we decide the X factor to change or abolish government or attack the certain situation, to assess the certain situation. You need to assess the situations before deciding what means you use to squash the situation. Firearms are a necessary evil. Listen, I'm not one of those, a Burmer is out to get us, blah 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 blah. Okay, I'm not, so don't take me for that. Listen, okay, I understand and accept the fact that people misuse guns to commit monstrous atrocities for whatever evil and wicked reason out there that they may have. People also use guns as a form of control over others. That's why the Second Amendment was written. The Second Amendment was written with the idea that tyrants and criminals threatened your very way of life. It was written so you could match the means in which someone has who wants to hurt you for whatever reason they may conjure up in their ill mind. We have a culture problem, we have a mental illness problem. We do not have a gun problem.